I haven't looked at this at all, just now.
I haven't looked at
So be it.
Okay.
Neither have
Okay.
I. So we are on the TV.
currently.
Okay.
I took it off the thing, and we'll see tonight. Okay. If it's okay. All right. If everybody read their minutes.
All right, we are on the TV. So I'd like to call the October 12th, 2017 Conservation Commission meeting to order at 7:03, according to the clock in the town council chambers. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sue, could you do the roll call for us, please?
Keith Davis,
Present.
Patrick Reynolds,
Present.
Andrea Sellers,
Here.
Jeff Goldnow,
Present.
Roseanne Fox,
Present.
Casey Finch,
Present.
Julia Sinclair.
Present.
And Mary Ann Hannigan and Ann LaFortune both contacted me to say that they would be unable to attend the meeting this evening and are excused. Oh, yeah. So I will appoint Julia to be a voting member for our meeting this evening. Thank you. Okay, next up is public comments. No public, so no comments there. Well, I think you're here for a different topic, Ellen. So that brings up the point that, generally speaking, when we have an agenda item and someone's coming in from outside, we rearrange the agenda so that that person can have their input and can escape. They don't have to listen to everything up until that point. With that in mind, and since we have Ellen Snyder here and it's related to the Piscassic River Loisel property kiosk, if there's no objections, I'd like to move that to the front of the agenda and we can discuss that next. And then once we're done with that, we can jump back on the agenda. So any objections to making that change?
Nope.
Excellent. Thank you, one and all. So let's talk a little bit about the Piscassic River Loisel property kiosk. I'd like to hit on one item here. So in between our last meeting and this past meeting, Julia sent out some information related to the kiosk. She sent it to all of the Conservation Commission members. There was replies to that information that was sent out. The replies were to everyone at the meeting, at the all members of the Conservation Commission. It's possible that people could consider that a meeting. There were no decisions made in that email train, and hence Ellen is here this evening to provide any input on the discussion. What I would ask, though, is that, Sue, I believe you were copied on this email train as well. Is that correct? And if not, could you ping me? What I would ask is, I would like that whole email train to just be entered in as an appendix on our minutes for this meeting, just for the sake of transparency and openness. If anyone has any concerns, the information would be publicly available there in our minutes, and you know, I think it's good transparency. I'll say it that way.
I'm sure I was. I just
Okay.
didn't
If
print it out because I
no problem. And if for any if you look through and you can't find it or whatever, just send me an email, and I think I can forward that string along.
I agree, for expedience sake, instead of reading it.
Yeah, right. Rather than trying to read the whole thing and all that, but I will say, basically, the the information and comments were related to information that would or could potentially be put on the kiosk at Piscasset-Loisel, and whether or not specific information or prohibitions should be included on the kiosk there. That's sort of the big picture perspective of the email train. So having done that, I think the bottom line is what we're trying to do now is come to consensus on language that will actually be on the sign at the kiosk at Piscasset River Loisel. Get agreement on that, and then we can get it printed and get it up there so we don't have an empty kiosk anymore. So with that in mind, Julia, do you want to jump in, or Ellen, do you want to jump in?
Sure. Maybe I should start.
Yeah.
Ellen Snyder. So I think I did, so I'll review those. I think there were a few edits under, on the text that goes to the beginning text about dogs and pets. We just tweaked the language, there was some suggestion, just tweak the language to say dogs, pets are permitted, but please keep pets under control at all times. Pick up after your pet. So it's more like a wording, moving a few words around. So essentially the whole concept is actually exactly the same. So that's one thing. The second thing was, I think it struck me after I left, to get some other stuff I'm doing, and we had prohibited, you can remind me in the draft, we had prohibited motorized and wheeled vehicles, and we had said including mountain bikes. And I added, and you can tell me if this is, you don't want this or not, snowmobiles and dirt bikes as prohibited. So I just thought, so I wasn't sure, because I don't think snowmobiles are allowed, but I may be wrong, so. Because we say motorized and wheeled, but we only said
Yeah.
mountain bikes. So-
Snowmobiles are allowed on designated trails only.
On Piscasset-Loisel?
Yeah, I don't think there are currently any designated snowmobile trails, so technically they're probably not, but they are allowed on designated trails
Okay.
at Piscasset-Loisel. I actually found that, I finally had time to come here and
Okay.
got the
So
management
we should
plan
not
this
have that on there.
afternoon.
Okay, so we'll take that off.
What are you taking off?
Well, I don't think it's on your desk, so snowmobiles will not
It's the
be
only version
mentioned as
that's found.
prohibited.
Correct.
So what's prohibited are mountain bikes?
All-wheeled vehicles.
Motorized and non-motorized wheeled vehicles.
Okay.
I have the management plan, I can read you the quick list of the prohibited things. Camping, overnight use, nighttime use, swimming, all-terrain vehicles, and bicycles.
Okay, so we should say all-terrain vehicles and bicycles. Okay, and mountain bikes, I guess. Does that sound right? We'd say
And-
no ATVs or all-terrain, but spelled it out.
Nighttime use has an exception. It says, except for hunting purposes. It's kind of interesting. I don't know what the people be hunting in the dark.
Because you can go out before dawn.
Okay.
Right.
You can't hunt it.
And snow,
Sunrise to sunset is hunting time, but you can set up prior to that.
snowmobiles say allowed only in the designated corridor. And hiking says trails will be designated for hiking, which they are. And hunting says this activity will occur close to houses and should be monitored over time for hunting. That's kind of the list.
There's nothing for dogs.
No, it doesn't. This entire management plan, from what I read, and the deeds did not mention dogs at all. Not one word about them.
Yeah, it's hard
Thank
to
you
put
for
everything
pulling
on the
that.
sign, so you sort of.
Thank you
Sure.
for pulling that.
Did we say horseback riding was a no, or did I have that one? Is that one I had?
I didn't see that on here. It didn't mention anything about.
Or do you want to say, yeah,
You
just leave
did.
that?
You
silent?
did.
I did have it on before?
Yeah.
So was that a no, there's no horseback riding?
Doesn't say no horseback riding.
Basically, if it doesn't state that it's allowed, then it isn't.
I was thinking of the other way around. If it doesn't say that it's not allowed,
Right.
then it is.
I agree.
Yeah.
So sometimes towns, like, I was talking about Durham, they have some things, I think, that are in their whatever ordinance, like no alcohol and open dawn to dusk.
Right.
And I have one other one.
I mean,
And then there's no, even the management plan is not set in stone, you guys.
Yeah,
That's a guiding document, so you need to decide as the conservation
Right.
commission in charge of that property, based on what's written in the management plan, based on your perspective. fact is, what do you wanna have, you know, someone can say, hey, you can't prohibit that, but if you had a reason to, you can.
That's, yeah, this certainly leaves it open to interpretation to a certain extent. You can't I don't think you can prohibit something that's specifically allowed.
Right, yeah, unless you could say. that
It's
it
against the
was-
management.
Yeah, or the deed was specifically to protect water quality, and that use is really detrimental to water quality or something. But I think you'd have to have a pretty good reason why you would.
Right.
You know, but,
Like, I don't think you'd need to say no alcohol, because it's a town ordinance for open containers on
Okay,
public
yeah.
property, probably. You know what I mean? So I don't think everything that's
It's
listed in
already
here is
covered.
not everything you can't do there. There's other
Right.
town ordinances that would come into play, such as the dogs off leash at that specific property. Like, if you took a dog off leash downtown to the Shanda Park, and you're not supposed to have a dog there anyway, but it would have to be on leash because it's town ordinance. But that specific property is an ordinance that lists that it is an off-leash, town-owned property.
Most of the properties surrounding the Lozelle property that joins to it does not allow dogs off leash. So how do you let the owner know that once they,
That was one thing I was gonna actually bring up and recommend, is that if we wanted to be a good neighbor to the Audubon property, we could
Mhm.
put a dogs on leash only sign at the stone wall where the trail crosses, like leash your dog.
from this
Like
point
at this
on?
point, going on to their property?
Yeah,
Yeah.
That would be a
Yeah.
good neighbor.
'Cause I was gonna suggest that.
So let's review again, under prohibited, we're saying no, we're just saying prohibited wheeled vehicles, and in parentheses, including mountain bikes, all-terrain vehicles, you want to say dirt bikes, or is it good enough to say all-terrain vehicles and mountain bikes?
I would say
I think
all-
ATV is a dirt bike.
All wheeled
Yeah.
vehicles.
So I've heard all wheeled vehicles, okay, in parentheses, including, or say, yeah, including mountain bikes and ATVs. Okay, got that, I think.
Mhm.
Campfires, camping and fires. Horseback riding, what are we deciding about horseback riding?
I wouldn't mention it.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to mention it, yeah.
Don't think that's it.
I'd leave it off.
Horseback riders over there.
And did you strike, you struck snowmobiles?
Snowmobile is not gonna be there, and I struck out motorized, because we don't really need to say that, we just need to say all
All
wheeled
wheel
vehicles.
vehicles,
And then we'll-
including mountain bikes, all-terrain
And
vehicles,
vehicles.
dirt bikes.
I guess we don't say dirt bikes, because we're thinking that's
Okay.
the alternative.
Okay.
Are you gonna put all that language, including all-terrain vehicles and all that, doesn't,
I might just.
all-wheeled vehicles covers all of those items?
Yeah, sometimes it's helpful to say mountain, people
Yes,
people don't think of
thanks.
mountain bikes when they think of all
Yeah.
As a vehicle?
Mhm.
I think as a bike.
They don't think of it as a vehicle.
that. Yeah, yeah, we could just say ATVs, I think most people who are using ATVs know what that means, and we'll just say no. Okay,
What's
okay, I
the state
think
term?
that is,
Off-highway, OH. There's a very specific, there's a specific state term for ATVs, it's not ATV.
Off-road vehicles?
yeah,
Oh,
there's
it's
a
like
new one now,
ORHV
because
or
there's
something?
really these new,
Well,
really new big ones.
big four-wheelers that people are
Yeah,
into.
I'll look up
Oh,
those.
it's like ORHV or
Yeah.
Off-highway recreational vehicle, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you wanna change it to that?
OHRV.
We'll use whatever the state term is.
Sure.
I think I took out one word in the text that described the forest, but it was more just mine, like, that doesn't sound like, you know, it's more editing. I tweaked the map, so I think I moved all the text so it's not overlapping. I don't think did we discuss the distances and how the map looked? I think I sent that after the last meeting, and I added the distances, because there was a recommendation, and I thought about trying to put it here, but it got really complicated, trying to put it.
It would get lost.
No, this is an ArcGIS map, and it's really hard to do that. So I put it here, and if that looks okay to everybody, was that okay? And I actually changed I had the Pisgasic Trail as purple, and this one is yellow, and it wasn't showing up. I wanted this one to be yellow, so I could flip the colors around. It looks a lot better on the screen, and I think when they print it, like in imaging or something, it'll
It'll pop out more, yeah.
Yellow definitely, we typically overlay yellow at work on top of aerial
Yeah,
photos, because
yellow's
yellow
a lot-
pops.
I like yellow. Yeah, so that's. I did see Phil Brown again from New Hampshire Audubon, and he's really busy in the fall, all the time. But I said, we'd really be good if you commented, just to make sure we're not, with a lot of information about them on here, so hoping he gets back to us quick. I'd like to get his sign off, but this looks good.
Cool.
Otherwise,
Okay,
So should we officially, like, approve it as a committee
yes,
so that we don't end up in the same,
same boat again?
yeah.
Yes. That would be the desire.
And we are gonna have the logos, I think some of you, so the logos will be, like I put the logos on the maps, but then when they do the layout, I'll talk to them about, they'll figure out how it should look. Nice.
Like wrap the text around it or something?
Yeah, they'll make it look nice, so. that was a good suggestion, so. Yeah, good.
Great, sounds good. Thank you, Ellen.
Yeah, when I was, well, you guys can talk about, if you want me to contact Infinite Imaging or if you want to contact somebody else, but they did the one at Wigan Farm. And I was thinking of just saying, hey, you guys did this is kind of what we're thinking of. And
Yeah, that would be great. Is there any way that when we vote for that payment, like I know that when we voted on the original, like this whole thing, like back in the spring, we had an estimate that we were going on. Like, because you don't know the exact dollar amount, should we vote to say yes to anything under X amount of dollars, under 500 or whatever it,
Yeah,
whatever is
we can,
reasonable?
we can structure a motion that way for a
Okay.
not to exceed
Yeah,
value.
okay.
so at least I think, because they need to do a proof, and I think they need a commitment. And then they would send a proof back and say, for your next meeting, approve the proof. That'd be good, and I assume I could just tell them, build Newmarket. Would it be the Newmarket Conservation Commission?
Yes, yeah. So do they start work without payment, so to speak? I.e., would they give us a proof and
I
a,
think so,
and a
yeah.
quote, and then
Yeah.
we can actually
Yeah,
work off the quote to,
yeah, as a matter of fact, I
we
think
can do a
this-
motion next month with a
Yeah,
quote
I-
in hand.
Like this is an email, so I was thinking we could get a quote. If it comes back like really too high, then I think we need to come back and say, well, maybe we can look at some other printing. But I don't think, there'll be a little cost for the layout, it's different than just printing the sign. So
Mhm.
we'll do a little layout, right, with the text.
Yep.
But if, I don't think it'd be that much, and then the printing isn't, so I'm thinking less than $500. Think,
Yeah, understood.
I'm sure.
Sure, sure.
So we'll have to view the proof at our next meeting anyway.
We'll have to view the infinite imaging proof, yes.
Right, so we don't really need to set aside amount yet,
Correct,
if we have to view it at another meeting, I think.
correct.
Yeah, you just need to know if you want to go with the imaging, and if it's less than 500, you have to get 3 proposals.
No,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
that dollar amount is, was it
I always-
1,000, I think?
I always forget, but I think it's 1,000, yeah. Okay, so with all of that in mind, I will make a motion that Ellen provide the text and images that she has put together to Infinite Imaging and request that they do the graphic design necessary to put the text and images on an appropriate sized panel for the Piscassic River Loisel kiosk and provide a quote for their services rendered, including printing.
Second.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you, one and all.
I got the L-tip sign, I know the dog sign's already out there, so I'm just gonna go out and just re-measure one more time to make sure.
And, yeah, and we can, obviously we can move the dog waste sign
Yeah.
as appropriate. We could move it up or, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I.
Don't let that be a constraint.
Yeah.
That's
I remember
the,
I remember something about the Wigan Farm one. They don't like to put holes in their signs, and I forget how we mounted that one, but, I'll check with them about that, because they can actually put the hole, like, do you screw these in? Is that how you put these on there?
yeah.
I'll check with them on that.
Okay,
They'll have
great.
an idea.
Because if they pre-drill the holes, can they laminate over it so the moisture
Yeah.
doesn't get in between the laminate
I think that's what they
and,
wanna know, like,
Yeah.
where they should put the holes, so.
yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you all.
Thank
you, Ellen.
you.
Thank you.
We appreciate your patience and everything, Ellen.
All right, right now.
Did you,
She submitted her invoice yet?
have you submitted your invoice yet?
No, I won't do it till I finish.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you. Okay, so I think that's it on the Piscassic River Loisel kiosk. And with that in mind, then we'll jump back to number 4 on the agenda, approval of minutes from the September 14th, 2017 meeting. Sue, I know you sent those out, so people have had a chance to review them. Are there any corrections or updates?
Yeah, my
Meeting minutes?
last name is wrong on page 3. I have Patrick's last name. And it's a nice last name.
Oh, you're right. But you want to make sure that's correct, yeah, I understand.
Okay, okay. Sorry.
I snuck off an email to you about a half an hour before this meeting, but I figured it was probably too late.
Any other corrections or suggestions? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the September 14th, 2017 Conservation Commission meeting as amended.
Second?
Thank you, Patrick. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain, absent.
Thank you, one and all. Next item is the treasurer's report.
Okay.
There are copies that were printed out and set at each space. If anyone needs an additional copy, there's some up here.
Our current year expenditures is the first page. Covers payroll for our recording secretary, Sue, postage, supplies, dues and subscriptions, as well as contracted services coming out of the general fund. The second page is the fiscal summary year-to-date. We have nothing for this past month of September. New, I should say. Nothing new. And the general ledger by account continues to track the Richard Shanda Fund, the land use tax changes, and credits and debits to the general fund. We have $35.76 in interest, I guess. That's pretty good. And then the final pages talk about the breakdown of the Shopmeyer Park Fund, which I just have one small thing. The balance. Almost 64,000.
Okay, anyone have any questions on that?
I had a, what's the contracted services for 291?
So that's the Hilton property. The easement on that property is monitored by the Southeast Land Trust. And I think last year the billing for that was around $290. That was initially established because at the time that the property was conserved, Wynn Hilton, the property owner, was also a member of the Conservation Commission. And so to have an independent body do the easement we thought having an independent body do the easement monitoring was a good idea.
Okay.
And that has continued.
And what's the dues and subscriptions? Do we get a magazine or something? Or?
So we have dues to the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions, and we actually just got the bill for that, so we'll talk about that under the chairman's report. And I think it was $363.
Yeah, because I know the planning board gets that town and country, town and city Town and Country, Town and City magazine for
Okay.
planning board members and stuff, but we don't get anything like that.
No,
anything
there's not a
available?
specific magazine, no, but
Okay.
there's discounts on going to, meetings, there's information that's
Okay,
available that
good.
we can access. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, sure.
They'll answer questions and stuff if we send them questions.
Yeah.
We can request information, ask them questions, ask them for help with stuff.
Yeah.
They do
We
workshops.
utilized that a few years ago. It was a great resource.
Yeah,
Good.
it's nice. Okay, next item are the committee and subcommittee reports. Town council is first, and I'll briefly jump in on this one,
Okay.
Casey, ahead of you. So, the town council has put together an energy and environment advisory committee. We were given a copy of the resolution which initiates this committee. The membership of the committee is as follows: 1 member of the town council, 1 member of the Conservation Commission, 1 member from the planning board, and 4 members at large, so 4 community residents. And so the town council is looking for a volunteer from the Conservation Commission to be the representative on the Energy and Environment Advisory Committee. And the language on the resolution says, the town council creates an Energy and Environment Advisory Committee to recommend best practices in the areas of municipal buildings, facilities and operations, fuels, vehicles and transportation, responsible purchasing, energy sources, air quality, and climate changes. The committee shall include policies that the town has already adopted, identifies and recommends voluntary actions, projects and programs to the citizens of Newmarket, and recommends actions, projects, and programs to the town council for funding. So that's sort of a brief overview of the desires and goals for this particular advisory committee. Casey, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I guess I believe I emailed everybody about a month ago, but they're about ready to gear up. They haven't picked a meeting time yet, but it should be once per month. But I think they're kind of just not waiting, but looking for the member from the Conservation Commission. So it'd be great if we could appoint one tonight. And again, the meeting should be once per month. Just don't know the day yet because they haven't set up a time.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Do you know the perspective, is it like a committee that they're gonna try to keep in town forever? Or is it is it like a 1-year committee? Or?
From the way it's been laid out is that it should be a longer term thing, so we can kind of, for long-term planning, we can kind of work in ideas for how to kind of, plan out long-term. So it should be kind of provide suggestions and oversight to all the different projects that are going on for kind of the future. So yeah, it should be long-term is the goal.
What about?
I'm not the chair, no.
And how about the, like the volunteer term? Like if somebody from the commission wants to be on it, like what term should they expect?
Right now, they're for 3 year. So
3-year appointments to that
3-year
committee?
appointments, yeah. And we've got some at-large members already. We have a town council rep, which is Tony Weinstein. So yeah, it'd be a 3-year term.
That's usually just for the at-large members, not for the, anyone appointed from planning board or conservation. That would just be usually
Yearly.
year to year.
Yeah.
A year to
Okay,
year
yeah, so I
appointment.
guess at-large would be 3 years, and then,
Yeah.
yeah, that's correct.
Are there at-large members yet?
Yes, yep. I believe all we need is a rep from Conservation Commission and 1 more at-large member, if I'm not mistaken. But I think the rest of the spots have been filled if I'm.
I am. And I checked with Steve, I can't rep the conservation and planning board, sorry.
No, that's okay.
2 chairs.
Thank you for volunteering from the planning board. So, is there anyone who has an interest? No one's jumping forward.
I'm also unable
I
to
don't
because
thi-
of my role.
I
in
don't
town
think I'm
council.
allowed to. Am I like an alternate? I'm not officially like allowed to, am I?
Why not?
Yeah, you would be allowed to.
Yeah, if you can be temporarily appointed as a voting member, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you were approved, you as an alternate had to be approved, right? You had
Yep.
you.
Yeah.
So I would think you can. That would
These are
be
things I
great.
need to sleep on. I can't make the decision right
Yeah.
now.
One more
I can't
minute.
either.
And maybe we should
What-
find out too if that's. if
Oh, we
there's
got a couple
alternate
people
there.
absent tonight.
Yeah. I'm on
Well-
the stormwater, I feel like I'm already committed.
Yeah, I understand.
To that, and I was thinking Jeff's work on the
Shop
on the
mire.
shop mire is a lot
We're
already
gonna be,
too.
we'll be relatively slow, I think, until next spring. So, I mean, that was, I was considering it, but should I not be on the commission come May, as my term is up? If there's someone that is already signed up for 2 more or 3 more years on the commission, I don't wanna occupy a position for 5 months and then back out of it. I guess
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Potentially.
Potentially back out.
Right. So I would also consider it, I would say.
I'd be more than happy, if you guys have a meeting that I can work out with my wife's work schedule. I'd be more than happy, if you have a meeting before our next meeting, if no one comes forward, I'd be more than happy to attend.
I can, after our next town council meeting, which is next week, I can confirm, but there hasn't been a date scheduled yet.
Yeah.
So once I know what the date is, I can email everybody and let them know.
Right, like if Julia wants to consider it and doesn't want to go to a meeting in the next couple of weeks, then I might be able to go and stand in for a meeting or something. Something I'm interested in, so I mean, I would.
Yes, Roseanne?
Because sometimes when we get appointments like to the CIP and all that, we'll have one member and they'll have an alternate from that
Mhm.
same board, so, you know, to fill in, because everybody's schedules are so hectic.
Right.
So this is even a backup alternate
Yep.
Yeah.
to an appointee.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
I mean, that way if you guys
Hopefully one of the
could
two can
split it,
attend.
yeah, if you can split it between the two of you.
and if you can both make the same night, that's even great, so you really know what's going on, but, you know, schedules being what they are.
Yep.
I'd be more than happy to volunteer as an alternate.
And that way you can have a chance to find out
I
whether
don't know
that.
if I have the skills for it.
I'm sure you do.
I'm confident.
No, I'm not just saying that. That sounded very complicated.
You can.
On the job training.
Yep.
Well, you know, we do have the new facilities director, Greg, who is just a well of information, and he'll basically, I think, be guiding and doing most of that and calling in experts when
Right.
needed, so it's keeping in touch with what's going on in town. That's why I did it, because I think it would help me with the planning board and with CIP, and just also learning a lot. I mean,
Mhm.
you're gonna learn a lot just from being on that board, so.
It's kind of like conservation, I would think, in that we are not necessarily experts at all,
Yeah.
the whole aspects of conservation by any means.
Right.
We look to experts to help us, and when expertise is needed.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll get up to speed sitting in
And I
meetings.
would, right?
Yeah. yeah,
I will, I
absolutely.
would.
I didn't know anything about stormwater and learning.
So,
Casey's request is that we have an appointment this evening, and
It would be great if we could,
I
but
would-
we could
yeah.
hold off if needed. The concern is that we meet once a month. I think that's,
right,
so.
right.
In the meantime, when's your next meeting?
Our next town council meeting would be next week, but our next meeting as a group would be a month from now. So my concern is that kind of pushes the.
Pushes the whole thing out another month,
Well,
which
could
I'd
we make
prefer not to.
a phone call to the other members that aren't here to see if they want to do it, or
Well,
Lisa
yeah,
has
I-
to decide, okay?
I mean,
I'd be more than
Keith-
happy to be appointed as an alternate. In which case, if there's a meeting within the next month,
You would-
I
yeah.
would attend
Yeah,
Okay.
I like that idea.
I like that idea.
in
too.
lieu of someone else, and if no one else steps forward, who knows,
That way you
maybe
can move
Sure.
forward, they can be
Yeah,
be appointed as a,
Uh-huh.
Sure.
as a
Yeah.
member.
Okay, so with that in mind, I will appoint Jeff as the Conservation Commission alternate to this committee. And he'll be able to attend, he'll be a representative until we either select another representative or have two people that can alternate for this particular advisory committee. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
You can vote for yourself.
Abstentions?
Oh, I abstained.
Jeff will abstain.
I did it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Sure.
And Julia, you can think about it.
Thank you, Julia, for considering.
Sounds thrilling.
So you just include me on any emails that come up?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
Yes. Yes, you can.
Away from you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from the town council, Casey?
Don't want to overlap too much with anybody else, but the last meeting we had, which was Wednesday, October 4th, we spent most of the time listening into the CIP. So we got some information about recommendations, and we got the packet with all of that. So that was the majority of our last meeting. The other thing we looked at is for audio concerns in here. We voted to redo the wiring up here, so we've been having issues with the AV stuff. Those funds are being pulled from the iNet fund, which is from about a decade ago, so they can only be used to upgrade that, so it kind of works out nice that we're not taking funding from anywhere else. We had a few appointments to we had 2 appointments to the Energy and Advisory Committee, and that was it for our last meeting, but we're kind of gearing up for, obviously, budget season here, so.
Yeah. Great, thank you. Roseanne, anything from the planning board?
Yes, we had Kyle Pimenthal from Stratford Regional come in and give us a copy of the final setting seal report. And I don't know if anyone here would, I know it's online, but if anyone would want to borrow this to the next meeting to take it home and peruse it, you're welcome to it. It's a good bedtime reading. And he did say that they did not have the ability to designate historical landmarks within the project. So Diane just recommended that he would go back and tell them that our entire mill area downtown is a designated historical district. And there's a few culverts in town that have to be done. They've got concerns, of course, about the dam. I think it's the Creighton Street pump station they feel would have to have improvements if what they're stating in here comes to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
And also the well up at Moody Point, which I believe already has some saltwater intrusion into it. So those are the concerns they had for our general area, and it's in this report as well.
Okay. Great, thank you. Are there any other?
I have one on the long-lost Trails Subcommittee. I will suggest as a member of the Trails Subcommittee that I'll look into a sign to place on the trail at the Audubon property at Piscassic-Loisel that says something to the effect of, beyond this point, dogs must be on leash.
Yep.
Should it say someplace on that sign, like, because it's a different piece of property, like that piece of property that it is?
Yeah, there's
as
a.
opposed
Yeah,
to
you're now
ours?
entering Audubon property.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and I think that and we might even be able to. I don't know if I want to say Audubon property unless without talking to Phil, and maybe Phil has a sign already
Yeah.
that he would like to see there.
Hmm.
But I can shoot him an
Well, I
email.
have some copies of signs from Phil, they're page size, and a couple are laminated. And it has the do's and don'ts for the Audubon property. You could just post that. And that talks about the dogs and everything else as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, if you have something already,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's something that already
Yeah,
exists.
If, yeah, sometime if I can get that from you, either,
Sure.
if you're in town, and I don't know how often you come
Drop
downtown,
it
but you
off
can
at
drop
two
it at the
sets?
office. Yeah,
Perfect.
that'd be great, I appreciate that.
Okay, I'll look through my folder and see how many I have there. Okay.
Thanks. Yeah,
Good.
just, yeah, I think I would
Do you
only
have a
need one.
laminating machine at work?
I don't.
You don't, okay.
The
town does, I think.
Does the town, yeah.
Yeah, I think the
All
town
right, if I
does.
have one that's not laminated, I'll bring it in and have Diane laminate it for me and then
Sure.
drop it off.
Okay.
Sure.
Perfect.
That'd be
Okay.
great. Thank you. Any others?
And I could do Shopmeyer Park now if you want, or I could wait till later.
Yeah, let's do it later. I got down at the bottom there. Next up was the chairman's report, and we have a couple of different things here. So one is is it a meeting from the right to know law? And I should have grabbed my glasses. Font on this is painfully small, especially for a geezer like myself. So,
Geezer's spelled.
Geezer. So I printed out, so first of all, this came from Wendy Chase, the administrative assistant to the town councilor. She was included on the email chain related to information on the Piscassic River Loisel kiosk. And so she sent this to me, and then I forwarded it on to everyone on the commission. It is sort of it's a PDF, and it's not entirely clean, but the basic idea of it is anytime you have a quorum of members of the committee and you're in communication, which can be all of us sitting here, obviously, is a meeting, but even email communication is considered communication, and therefore can be considered a meeting. And I think the key is everyone involved in the conversation, whether the conversation is in person or electronic, and are there decisions being made? Those are really the key things. So with that in mind, in order to make sure that we are not having, quote, online meetings, I think as a general rule, it's good to send out information and pretty much leave it at that.
We can distribute
you
information,
can-
but not comment on that information.
And we can comment here.
Right, right, and we can comment at the next meeting.
We can't,
Enough.
we can't offer a single comment back to the sender?
You
Only?
can, an individual can reply to the sender, but if you do a reply all, then,
Okay.
then it's communication.
That's what we've traditionally done, where if,
Right.
please, please send back comments,
Yeah.
reply only to me.
Yeah,
Right, exactly.
And the quorum is
Or whoever.
4.
or
correct?
more.
Or more. So if 2 people were having an email conversation and then they emailed a third person, you'd still potentially be okay to ask a question or confirm something.
Correct.
It's just as soon as you get to that number 4, and also you're discussing a matter related to that committee
Yes.
or group. And
Yep.
Now, we can, one question, we can have a group discussion on, we're supposed to do a cleanup somewhere, we're supposed to meet, and it's pouring rain. I would assume we could communicate back and forth with each other on something that's not related to making a decision of, like, an advisory type decision, or discussing or acting on matters that we have supervision or control over.
Right.
We could all talk about getting together for pasta, but we can't talk about getting, deciding if, yeah, okay. Talk about some.
Yep. Okay, so is everyone clear and feel comfortable about that? Feel good?
Yes,
it's helpful, thank you,
it is helpful.
It is helpful.
to revisit that from time
Yes,
to time.
yes it is,
And I
right.
like the flow chart.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I thought that was good. Okay, And then I have a couple more things under the chairman's report that were not on the agenda, so I'll roll through those. First one is, we had a request for usage of Shanda Park for last Saturday, October 7th. And it was for a 5-year-old's birthday party. The request came in after our last meeting and was, desirous of using the park prior to this meeting. As chair, since I knew that there was no other request for using of the park, I said yes. On behalf of the Conservation Commission, I said yes, they could use the park for the 5-year-old birthday party. I asked that they please leave the park in the same condition that they found it. And I, signed off on, they brought an application for usage in, dropped it off with Wendy Chase. I signed that and provided a copy to the requester and also a copy to the police department so that the police knew that, this event that was happening in Shanda Park was going on. So I'm informing you and everyone else, on behalf of the Conservation Commission, I made that decision on my own. And I hope that's okay with everyone.
I think that's great.
Peter?
It sure seemed like a perfectly reasonable request, and I think we are all in favor of the public using the park
Absolutely.
in ways that are appropriate for its use. So yeah, I didn't think that there would be any issues with that.
I know this has come up before, where we have groups that contact us between meetings. Do we want to try and set any procedure that we can advise, like go to the town office, get the application?
Oh.
Do we
Yeah, we
have a
talked about a link on the
calendar that we
website.
could view on the website to confirm there's nobody else in there? Because that's what, when this happened before, there was a group that wanted to use it before, and we just didn't, I didn't have a way of confirming. I said, I can't confirm that
Well,
nobody else is there.
Wendy would know, I think, because they have to fill a form out to be
Right.
covered under the town
I
insurance.
think this even came like literally over the weekend, and they wanted to use it. It was the community church, I believe.
There's nothing on the website unless it's a
They're
recreation
aware of the
use.
procedure over there.
Because
They are.
we talked about
They
that before.
admitted they were aware of procedure and had failed to follow procedure. So.
Yeah, and I think I would say in the worst case, I agree with what you're saying, Patrick, that I think the process should be, people apply, they fill out the application form, provide it to the town administrator's office, that gets brought before us, we make a determination and reply back. I think generally speaking, because it is a public space, as long as what's being done there doesn't violate any town ordinances, I think you could argue that the whole application process serves basically two functions. One, to make sure we don't have overlapping events, and two, provide the community and the police department with information so that they know what's going on there. So in some ways, it's kind of a formality, but
I think there's also
I think it's a good thing to do.
I think there's also a public gathering size ordinance or something like that, possibly. Like, there's not supposed to be more than so many people gathered together on a sidewalk in town. I know that. It's like 5 people, or at least there used to be, unless they got rid of it. But there definitely used to be.
Without a
Without
permit
a
of some
permit,
sort, yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Interesting.
Typically is, you can't amass 100 people in the middle of a sidewalk, without, yeah, it's almost like protesting or marching
Can't
without a
impede
permit.
pedestrians right of way.
Sure.
I mean, because I'm assuming, I don't know, there's
Could have
traditionally
something
been
with
that
that, that's all.
Halloween or fall festival thing that is
Mhm.
coming up. I don't know if that's already scheduled to be in there.
They have
think
scheduled
they
it
did at the
at
beginning of
the.
They rectified it.
They
the
schedule
rec
all their
All
stuff
their
at the
things,
beginning
yeah.
of the year, okay.
That's
Yeah.
at the rec department this
Yeah.
year.
It
Although
is?
they do the
Oh,
downtown.
it's at the rec
They do
department,
some
not downtown.
too.
Okay.
They're not doing that downtown?
The haunt is, if you get the weekly newsletter anyway, still says that the haunt is scheduled to be at the rec department.
The rec.
Oh.
But
That might
sometimes,
make it easier. It's a little
It's
cramped
easier
over
for
there.
them, that's, yeah, Shannon, my
Yeah.
wife spoke to them about it the other day while she was there, because we like it in town, it's kinda nice, you
Yeah,
have the
go
parade
downtown.
through downtown
Right.
and
Yeah.
go, trick or treating at the businesses, but, I think it was getting to be difficult to move everything,
Yeah.
move everything back, set the whole thing up, and all their stuff is at the rec department.
now, is that a safety fence still in place down at Shanter Park?
Yes, it is.
It is, okay.
Yep, yep. So then the next item, which is what Roseanne brought up earlier, we did get our annual membership dues request from the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissioners. So our fiscal year 2018 membership dues is $363. And there's a letter, I'll read a short excerpt of it. Basically, they're saying, hey, great, your dues are due. Your annual dues provide so much more than access to expert advice. Benefits of membership include a discounted rate at the annual conference to be held on November 4th, representation in the state legislature and on statewide commissions to make sure your voice is heard, access to technical assistance and guidance on conservation funding, natural resource inventory, and many other issues, educational opportunities focused on wetland permit review, conservation planning, and wildlife habitat protection, networking opportunities including roundtables, hikes, and potluck gatherings, up-to-date publications from our e-newsletter and legislative updates, and most importantly, the support helps the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions build a stronger New Hampshire conservation community. So anyone who would like to is welcome to read the entire letter if they would like.
Oh, that's good. That's gonna make a motion.
Historically, we, just
Oh,
placing
sorry.
that down. Historically, we have been members of the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions, as evidenced by the sum of money in the general fund. So I will make a motion that the Newmarket Conservation Commission become members for fiscal year 2018 with membership dues of $363.
And I'll second that.
Thank you, Julia. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you, one and all.
Just the
I
conference.
will, yep. I will submit a check request for that. Actually, Andrea, can you submit a check?
Yes, I can. That's
Can I
fine. Ask
send
if
it
you want me
in?
to do that.
Yeah, let me send this down in your direction,
Okay.
and if you would, that would be fabulous.
Do you have to sign it? I think they want it.
I think you can sign the check request form.
I can, okay.
And then Steve will have to sign
Because
it.
remember that was always a thing? And
Oh, do you want me to sign that? I will do that
Do
gladly.
you remember, Jeff? Because there was always, I always forget. A couple times I went up there and got a check request and said, oh, it needs to be signed. And then, okay, I run over, do said survey. And am I remembering that wrong?
I think you can sign it as the treasurer, but then it needs to be signed by the town administrator.
Okay.
And
Sounds right.
I think, I'm pretty sure.
Couple?
But
I think
if the department
I think I
head,
remember
which would
she
be
said
Drew,
you had
signs
to
it,
s-
I don't
the
think
chair
that.
had to sign it.
I think if Drew signs it, then that Steve doesn't have to sign it.
Maybe.
And if someone else signs, I think a department head has to okay it.
Right, okay.
So I'm writing on here, motion to expend $363 for 2018 membership in NHACC approved at October 12th, 2017 Concom meeting. I will sign that. Yeah.
But
Let's
you.
try that.
All right, just-
Technically, though, Drew's not a department head, he's an appointed conservation member. I think Steve does have to sign it.
Yeah, Steve may still have to sign
Yeah,
it.
Steve has to sign it. And with the new finance director, Lisa, and they're just doing everything by the book.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a good thing. So as the letter mentioned, the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions has their annual meeting coming up. It is on November 4th, and it is, where is it this year? It's in Pembroke, at the Pembroke Academy. Its conference registration starts at 8, presentations start at 9, and things go on until 3:30. There's a little card. No. There's a little card that has a little bit of information, and then this little guy has what the different sessions are throughout the day. There's multiple sessions during each of the little time frames. And anyone who's a member of the commission or an alternate to the commission, since we are members of the association, get the discounted registration, and historically the Conservation Commission has paid for anyone's registration who's interested in going. So if anyone is interested in going to the association meeting, they should register, and then we'll reimburse you after the fact. So you can talk to me afterwards if anyone has any interest. And then within our mail, we've received 2 copies of the Great Bay Matters magazine. This is put out by the Great Bay Estuarine Resource Research Association, and it's a great magazine. I get a copy of it at home, so I don't need those. If people are interested, they should look through them. We also received, I'll say, newsletters from the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services Drinking and Groundwater Bureau, from Woodward and Curran, who is a engineering group that the town has done some work with in the past. We got something from Solitude Lake Management, who apparently are out of Virginia Beach, Virginia, and they say they are a full-service lake, pond, wetland, and fisheries management company. We also got a newsletter from the Southeast Land Trust, and that's it on the newsletter. So if anyone has any interest in reading any of these newsletters, let me know, and I will gladly pass them along. And I think that's it for Chairman's report. So then, under new and old business, we have the Shopmeyer Park. Anything new there, Jeff?
The only thing new there was that we did make a selection on a company to build the garden area and seating wall. Green Monster Landscapes was chosen, and Monster Landscapes.
Fenway Park? No.
I never heard of it.
They're located right behind the scoreboard. I don't recall.
I was just curious, doesn't really matter.
It's like Barrington, or it's somewhere pretty local. It doesn't say actually on there. Oh yeah, sorry, it does. I say, they are in Barrington and Sanbornville, but I assume Barrington. So, but they are busy until spring. So that's not going to happen until spring. And the committee was not interested in opening the park for use until that time. The thought was that the driveway surface would not be finished, in parking area wouldn't be finished until that process was done, so it didn't get kind of destroyed in the process. So I'm pretty sure the current thought is that it won't open until spring as a public space, or officially open to the public until spring. That, yeah, okay. Won't go any further with that.
Will the state be done with their 108 renovations and anything else that might impact
Perhaps.
that
The
property?
10-year plan.
Only
Go
time will
downstairs
tell.
and ask them.
Yeah, really.
Downstairs.
Well, I know, right, the part of what their state is doing is drainage-related work, and the state has a drainage easement onto that property.
That drainage easement was constructed.
Okay, so
Yeah, that part's done.
The structure, the improvements within that easement were constructed, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's been
Okay.
completed.
Will they be putting the sign up, though?
I
Will
don't
that
think so,
confuse the
because we were
people?
hoping not to, but we're
Yes.
not gonna attach the sign to the post until it's ready to be.
Yeah. Okay.
So, that's kind of one of the bigger news things.
Did they go with the plan we looked at 2 meetings ago? That
Yeah, generally, but the thought is that
Tone
some
down.
things I think the understanding was that some things don't have to necessarily be completely set in stone, and you can change your mind.
right. Okay.
At certain points, like the width of a path or things like that. And one of the other understanding things is that none of these included the seat cap, like the capstone that goes on the edge. So that's one thing that'll be an expense after. No one really said that they would construct or install that specific item. So
Is that a special purchase or why
it's
is that?
I don't really know, because
Okay.
no one was there to represent really. Do you remember Ellen? If Ellen is also on that
Oh.
committee, I don't,
No, I didn't, we haven't had a meeting yet after that one, but my, suggestion was going to be to the committee that we might relook at a couple things, because some of the things weren't decided yet. And there were some new ideas that were added in even in the last meeting, so this actually gives a little time, I think, to really look maybe at the plan
yeah.
and nail down a few specifics. And, one of my suggestions we bring to the committee, and here is, the native garden, which is a fantastic idea, a pollinator garden, but you all have to maintain, the town has to maintain that. So one of my thoughts was, well, what about native shrubs that are far easier to maintain, I think, than a perennial garden, but some people may not agree, but it maybe give an opportunity to maybe relook a little bit at the planting to make sure that they're
Right.
sustainable and not a real maintenance issue.
That was one concern, yeah, we brought up
Yeah.
repeatedly.
You guys brought that up before.
We brought up
Yeah.
repeatedly at the meetings that it would be low to no maintenance. And shrubs pollinators love flowering shrubs,
Yeah.
so, just like they love flowers.
Mhm.
But the tree
Shrubs,
pollinators,
flowers.
plants, herbaceous plants are harder to, perennials are harder to maintain, I think, than shrubs.
Yeah, they've got to be beheaded and all that, and,
Yeah, and they,
yeah.
well, they just.
They've
Yeah,
got to be
weeds.
divided every so
Shrubs,
many years,
shrubs can be
yeah.
kind of pretty self-sustaining, so that hasn't been brought to the committee yet, but it's one of the things I was gonna recommend that we get the time now, maybe should we look at that a little bit? We can make it look really pretty, with shrubs, different flowering materials.
When's the next meeting?
There isn't one
We don't
scheduled.
really have one.
No?
We're kind of-
There's not one scheduled, yeah.
Okay.
I think if there's business kind of that needs attention, that we
They call a
schedule one,
meeting.
which we may have to schedule one. The one other thing came up just today, actually, is that the state Department of Wetlands would like more of a plan that kind of shows the idea for the docking system. Kind of, some ideas were brought to the state. The state kind of thought about it for a while, I believe, is my understanding, the folks at DES. And they want to see basically a survey, I guess, that shows the wetlands approximately where the proposed dock would be. So we will have to probably, my understanding at this point, I've only seen 2 emails about it, is that we may have to have wetlands delineated along the river. And out in the field, perhaps. I'm not sure the exact area yet. It was at like 5 o'clock or 4:30 this afternoon that I got an email. I just keep people up to date, so that's kind of the status on that. That's something that we knew wasn't going to get resolved until spring. We were hoping to get the landscaping and the seating wall installed this fall, but not so. but that's it, and we'll certainly, if we have another meeting before our next meeting, I'll certainly update everyone. So that is really it. We selected someone, can't do the work till spring, and have to look into some wetlands before we can really nail down something to do with the dock.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Next one is the Dearborn Property Survey.
Shanda,
What?
Shanda Park Maintenance?
Different.
No?
Nope,
I'm wrong.
took that one off because I don't think we had anything for it.
I still need to do my to-do, so that's good that it's not on.
Yeah, me too, which is what I'm about to say on this one. So in the Dearborn Property Survey, I need to go back and redraft the letter to, or the request for quotes for surveyors. That's on my list of things to do, and I have not gotten to it yet. So there's no real update there. Same on the Heron Point Sanctuary. I need to reach out to Steve Fournier, make sure that the person I need to reach out to is the lawyer for the Heron Point Sanctuary Board of Directors, and then reach out to those folks and see if we can keep something moving there, get something going there.
Is the gate still being kept locked?
Yes, it is. Yep, at this point, the gate's locked.
But again, people can still walk down
They
there.
can
There's
by foot,
nothing.
yeah, just vehicles.
In case anyone's
Park at
watching
the
at
gate,
home, they can still walk there.
Yep.
And park on Bay Road.
Yep.
It's
Oh,
not
you have to
that it's
park at
clo-
Bay
it's-
Road?
It's not closed to the public. No, they should not park
At the gate?
within the confines of the
Co-op.
co-op or at the gate or in front of the gate. That's a good question,
Okay,
Yeah.
Andrea.
I
Yeah.
need to walk. It's treacherous a little bit up Bay Road like that.
Yes, it is. There's a little bit of a pull-off just after the entrance to the co-op. If you're going away from town on Bay Road, there's a wider shoulder just after the entrance to the co-op that is probably the best place to pull over there. It's the closest thing to a straight section of road with larger shoulder, larger
So
flat
resolution
shoulder.
of that, or just waiting on everybody to sort of get together and make a decision based on what various lawyers have to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Isn't that little parking lot right across from Bay Road right across from Bryant Rock on Bay Road that the town owns, isn't that within a little walking distance to Heron Point?
That parking
Yeah.
lot is within.
Yeah.
Yes,
It
So
is,
that-
it isn't the safest walk, you know, there's no sidewalk and then
Yeah.
it turns a little and.
Right.
Yeah.
It's on a slope and a corner.
It's kind of as dangerous as it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no significant shoulder, there's no sidewalk, and there's
Yeah.
a turn and a hill.
Oh.
You do get to go by that house where the guy does just awesome
All the
gardening.
Yes,
Yeah.
very pretty.
The garden there,
Yeah.
yeah, beautiful.
Flowers
I know,
everywhere. Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. I always like going by there.
Yep, me too.
Okay, and then I added one that I think I sent out information to people on is easement monitoring. So that's not on the agenda that I initially sent out. This came to my mind because I realized, oh, it's fall, and we have various properties that we need to do easement monitoring on, and most of them, we need to have it wrapped up by December 31st. So with that in mind, I sent out the information, I think 2 nights ago, related to easement monitoring, and it's basically just a listing of the properties that we need to monitor, who we need to be in communication with prior to and after the property monitoring, and just kind of a general what we do, and really there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 that we really need to do. So The Wigan Farm property, essentially the state is doing that one. And Steve Walker usually gets in touch with us in the fall, and, we try to coordinate if at all possible. Since Steve is an employee of the state, it's generally done during normal business hours, so it can be a little tricky to get out there and join on that one. But the others are the Piscassic River Loisel property, the Audubon Smith Sisters property, the New Roots Nostrum Farm, and the Silverman Schneer easement at the end of Neal Mill Road. So with that in mind, I would like to try and schedule at least one of these for between now and our next meeting. So,
I can do one on the last weekend in October, anytime. I've done all of those ones you listed except for Piscassic Loisel, but I'm familiar with that property. I've just never done the easement monitoring on it.
okay.
So,
So when you say the last weekend in October, the 28th
yes,
and
28th and
29th?
29th, yep.
Yep.
And I think, is that Monday, no school, the 30th?
I don't know.
The
think-
30th is traditionally the
Uh,
trick-or-treating night in
Yeah.
Newmarket.
Maybe that Friday's no school. I think maybe the 27th is no school.
Why, is it a holiday?
I think it might be teacher in service.
Oh.
But I could do one of them Saturday morning.
Is there one that you would particularly like to do
I like the Silverman Schneer property on Neal Mill
on
Road.
Neal Mill Road?
Yep, I like that one.
Sure. Sounds good.
Okay, Saturday morning.
Which day?
I'll go over there the Saturday the 28th
28th?
at maybe 9 o'clock.
Sure.
Okay.
So, just as an FYI, so that property has changed hands, has a new owner.
Yeah, last time I was there was some flagging and whatnot.
Yeah, so one of the requests of the new owner, historically, I have parked in sort of a dirt parking area next to what used to be the
Pottery shed there.
pottery shed, yeah. The new owner has asked that we not do that, so just pull off to the side of Neal Mill Road a little bit before you get to that dirt parking area.
There's been a lot of people doing that, I think, because that's turned into almost a dirt spot. I don't know if you've been down there lately, but I go through there every weekend almost, and
You do?
I jog that way.
Oh, I see,
If I
sorry.
come down from the rail trail that way, or
Nice.
from the greenway that way, and there's where the town has a frontage there. There's a little dirt pull-off. Not, right before you get to the pottery studio, there's
Yeah.
almost a pull-off
Okay.
there now. That's
Okay.
kind of been created, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's more activity on that side of the road, it looks like. Those,
We park a lot now.
well, I heard that the sites are being, we had seen that they had drilled the perk
They-
test there.
yeah.
I think they're now getting further along with that.
Oh, with the development of the lot that's there's an Appledore
Yeah.
real estate sign there
Yeah,
on that side of the brook.
yep.
And that big house at the
Right,
end, they tore
Auditory
that, they're
easement.
tearing that down.
Yes.
He's got it down to I think he's gonna rebuild from where he's got it
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
He's
there was
got
an
everything
article in the
but
paper.
No, they're gonna
They're
take the
selling it to
frame
a guy
down.
Oh,
hooks
the
it.
frame's coming
Yeah.
down too.
There was an
Yeah.
article in the paper, a guy in Hooksett taking it. I didn't read the article, I just saw the headline.
What's it supposed to be?
Yeah.
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 Yep.
It's currently just posts and beams.
Wow.
Posts and
And
beams and a
chimney.
chimney. That's all it is right now.
I love that house.
The chimney's really cool,
Yeah.
for anyone who hasn't been out there.
Huh.
Okay.
All right, I got it.
All right, so we have that one for
Um,
October 28th at 9 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay. Can I send you an
Last
old
year's?
monitoring report?
Please.
Yes.
Please. Very helpful.
I volunteer to do one as well.
Yep,
You can only do them on Sundays.
yep.
I've I've done Piscasset Glazell like for the last bunch of years.
Okay.
Is it alright if I do it again?
Sure.
I know the route well and
Sure.
I walk that property all the time anyway. The 22nd at
That's a
like
Sunday.
that's a Sunday. At I mean, if anyone else wants to go, 8, 9, it's fine by me. I don't know.
Go that weekend.
I can. Can I learn how to from you? Learn how to do them?
Maybe.
Sure.
I'm just kidding. I can't predict how well you'll learn.
You can watch him do it.
No guarantees, right?
I'm just kidding. Of course.
You
Don't watch
you-
me.
You know where the boundaries are. You pulled out all the weeds.
That's
there.
right, that's right.
You were over the whole front half of that property.
Sign on the time.
See how many grew back.
That's right.
Yeah,
They look
so-
actually good. Less than most.
8 or 9. 8 or 9.
8 or 9?
I'm good at
How long do they take to do?
that one. Like you can walk around in like 45 minutes
Yeah, I
or
was
an
gonna
hour.
say an hour.
Really? Let's do it at 8, and then I can go to yoga at 9.
Oh yeah, I can do earlier if that works.
Get two
better.
things in the same morning.
Wow.
Aerobic.
That's for the weekend.
Sounds like with you and Jeff.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, we'll turn it into a run.
That's right.
With the clipboard and all the surveyor's flags,
Right.
trash bag,
Trash bag.
sawn hand clippers,
Totally getting shape.
every sign and nails, backpack.
Yeah, and we might need to bring a few of those maybe. We have a
Oh,
large
boundary
supply of
signs.
tags
Yeah, we do.
and nails.
And don't forget your camera
I see the cameras on the list, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
and water and the snack for the 45-minute break.
Okay.
Some of them are longer.
Yeah, some are quite a bit longer.
Yeah, Silverman Steer takes over an hour.
I want to do it.
And I get wet.
And your neon orange
Or rope.
thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh,
also,
oh,
Coming
yes.
across
It
the
is
river.
hard
You
to
never know how
see.
long you're gonna be out there.
So wear your hunting
Okay.
season
Yeah,
appropriate
that's right.
garb.
Okay, fair enough.
And then I will reach out to Phil Brown of New Hampshire Audubon related to the Smith Sisters property to see if he has any interest in joining us for the easement monitoring on that property.
When did you think you were gonna do that one, Drew?
Probably after our next meeting.
I'd be interested in going on that one just because I haven't really done anything on that property, so
Okay.
it would be a
Smith Sisters.
That one is.
way to learn it.
Sure. That one,
Big.
yeah, that one takes on the order of 2 to 3 hours.
20,000 steps, huh?
It's a lot of steps.
There he goes.
A lot of steps.
Maybe more, because your pace is.
Not when you're with Drew, it's not. Charging
Keep
through
moving,
there.
keep moving. The good part in that one is that there's a lot of stone wall boundaries, so it's actually, once you get moving on it, it's actually pretty easy to follow. Well, yeah, why don't I reach out to Phil, and depending on what he comes back with, we can either wait until after our next meeting, or I can just send out something that
Yeah.
says, you know, hey, I'll do it on this day and
Wait,
time.
so when's our next meeting? Is that the?
So our next meeting will be November 9th.
Okay. Yeah, I could do it that following weekend. I can't do it the weekend after that.
Okay. Okay, but yeah, at least having 2 of them scheduled gives us a good leg up. Excellent. So I think that takes care of the easement monitoring. Does anyone have anything else for old or new business?
2 things I'd like to bring up.
Yeah.
One. The first thing would be thanks to DPW for holding off on their mowing,
Oh,
and
yes,
thanks for
thank
getting
you.
back to the mowing and mowing it. Appreciate them working with us on that.
Yeah, so let me say a little bit more about that, Jeff. Thank you. Sorry, I should have had that on here. So if you remember at our last meeting, Jeff Cunningham came from the public and spoke and, you know, was saying that there's still a lot of monarch butterfly activity at the Wigan Farm, and that the Department of Public Works had started mowing. And his request to the Conservation Commission was to please get in contact with the Department of Public Works to see if they could further delay the mowing. I reached out to Rick Molaski, the head of the Department of Public Works, and he said, yeah, absolutely, we can we can delay the mowing. They were unaware of the monarch activity out there, so they stopped the mowing that they were doing. And they've just recently, I think it was sometime this week, they've started mowing again. So basically, there was an additional month of time that the monarchs had to, come to maturity and start their flight south. And at this point, we are well past the October 1st sort of recommended best practice for, save the mowing until after October 1st. So a big thank you to Rick Molaskey and the Department of Public Works for being able to modify their mowing schedule to accommodate the monarch butterflies and our request to fulfill that request.
Thanks, Jeff. And to Jeff, and thanks to Jeff Penny.
Yes.
Definitely. And the other thing on that is that I think we need to possibly, before next fall anyway, walk out there and make sure we have adequate stakes that kind of show the areas that we discussed about not mowing in, where alder are coming in. My understanding is they've mowed around some of the alders and left some alder, but mowed around. So maybe we just need to maybe talk to them and maybe make sure things are staked out and clear before next fall. And
Yeah, Ellen and I went out there, was it last year?
yes,
And did some stakes.
right,
A lot of
exactly.
stakes.
Is this
Yeah.
in Wigan?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to make sure, and then also probably keep us up to say we kind of want to start doing it later maybe. Because we talked about assessing it, like walking out and trying to see what we can see out there and seeing how the season's going.
Because the original plan said September 15th, I believe.
I think I brought up that date
Yeah,
at last meeting, I can't remember,
yeah,
but
and-
we moved it to later, because it was like September 1st or something,
Yeah.
and then we moved it a couple
So
of
we
weeks.
needed to move it to October 1st or later,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's really changing.
Could be seasonal. Yeah. I have one other thing I want to bring up real quick, is how we've traditionally set aside $500 a year to help pay for natural sciences related field trips,
Oh, yeah.
and how we haven't really acted on that. And it's been so long that I have no idea how much we have left in that. So I didn't know if it was possible to make a motion to clean the slate and set it back to $500 currently, or else we'd have to go back and do a lot of digging, because I know we didn't expend the whole thing
Oh,
previously, you know what I mean? To say,
Yep.
we currently have, make a motion to nullify the remaining funds or return I don't even know how to word it, that's kind of why I'm asking. And then make it $500 currently. And then, I would also like to then, now that my son's in second grade, I'm kind of getting a little better idea how things work, and it seems like the right people to reach out to for field trip funding might be like the PTA, because I think they do a lot of fundraisers for field trips and stuff like that. I mean, I could be wrong on that, but just so that people know it's there, because
I
people
know,
have not
I think
approached
I
us.
have a
and they-
letter that Drew drafted a long time ago, and I was gonna follow up on that. When you said that, I just remembered,
Yeah. It's
talking
just-
about that. Now's the time, I think.
Just to get people into it now, because we typically end up talking about this when it's scholarship
May.
time in May. And that's
Yeah.
what I
Oh,
really-
yeah, remember that thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this a scholarship you give to somebody, or is it for
No,
field trips for
field trips,
elementary school?
Yeah, so someone could come up and say, hey, we want to do a field trip to Odiorn to do tide pooling with with the Seacoast Science Center, or and then they say we want $250 to help pay for busing or whatever it happens to be.
Right.
And then we can say, okay, so we ask a teacher or someone to come and kind of tell us what they want to do and use the money for, and
Does the
we-
school have any coordinator that coordinates that and does any type of reach out for funding for it? I mean, you could ask Meredith, the superintendent of schools, because I know we work with Nancy Miller there through the gardeners, and we're gonna start planning, using some of our funding from the gardeners to take the kids to like Bedrock,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and try to get the high school kids involved in it, for agriculture and horticultural, but not for, scientific and conservation. So I don't know if Nancy Miller could help you there.
Yeah, so I
Or
don't,
Meredith or Mr. Pine.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think there's a specific coordinator.
And I
Yeah.
think a blast had, interested parties is probably good.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I think in the past, we've communicated to the school principals and asked them to, distribute from there. The other thing I would say, Jeff, is I'm pretty sure that in the past, we basically said we would have up to $500 available for a school year. So I don't think we have to worry about closing
was,
out
okay.
a
Okay.
previous account, so to speak, because there is no real account. It was more just, hey, this sort of funding would be available for the school year, and if it wasn't taken advantage of, then it wasn't taken advantage of.
Well, we just had our gardeners meeting last night, and I have to get in touch with Meredith and Nancy Miller regarding the garden program that we're gonna do with the school. So you want me to touch base on that with her as well?
That's so you can mention it to her,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah, I have that.
circulate Drew's, the letter that
Yeah.
Drew had.
Yeah, I'll get the letter and
I
then
thought-
update it and send it around and see what people
Yeah.
think of the edits.
Yeah, and
Does
send one
anyone-
to me, so.
Yeah, yeah,
I'd have
send it
that.
to
Yeah, that'd be
everybody, yeah.
great.
And then once it's good, then I can send it to everybody I can think of, I guess, that could
Yeah,
be interested.
and I'll just mention it to her when I, say, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be great, okay.
Um, I'd like to make a motion to bring the funding level currently available for natural sciences related field trips within the Newmarket School District up to a level of $500
For this academic year.
for this academic year.
And I'll second that.
Excellent. Any further discussion of the motion? So the motion is to approve expenditure of up to $500 for natural resource-related field trips for Newmarket School District children. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you, one and all. Thank you, Jeff,
Sure.
for bringing that up and reminding us. Yeah, so Andrea, if you could
Mm-hmm.
dig up that old letter and revise as needed and
Yep.
send it out.
I'll see if I can.
And we can, if need be, we can approve a finalized version at our next meeting and then distribute it at that point.
Let's just send it.
Okay, here it is, I got it right
It'll be a
here.
month later then.
Yeah,
We'll
sure.
drag on to December.
Sure, that's
Sorry, I'm
fine
being
too.
pessimistic about it.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Oh, I got it right here.
I'm sure it's really close. Oh, you do?
Yep. You want it right now?
No,
Want
let's
me to
just
do this right now?
let's just update it and send
Okay.
it.
I assume we only need to update is the year.
It's only a paragraph,
And update the,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's pretty short.
and now
If
we have
you-
a new superintendent.
If you circulate it, we can reply with a single comment
principals.
just back to you.
We can do
That's
this
true,
right
too.
now.
No reply.
We can make that happen.
So does,
I feel nervous.
does anyone else have anything else for old or new business?
Turtle signs are down.
Turtle signs are down, that's right.
Nice.
Thanks to DPW.
Oh,
Thank you.
yes.
I noticed that the
Thank
other
you
day.
again to DPW for taking down the turtle signs. Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you, one and all. Our next meeting will be November 9th, if I remember